If you ask any serious musician today who the absolute foundational figure of Western music is, the one guy who basically wrote the rule book, the name you always hear is Johann Sebastian Bach.
Yeah, born in Germany way back in 1685.
And that's really what we want to get into here. We want to understand why. Why are his compositions, from the tiniest little keyboard piece to these huge choral works, seen as this absolute peak of both technical genius and pure emotion?
I think you have to start with his family. I mean, for him, music wasn't just a career choice. It was almost like destiny.
It was a family business.
Totally. He came from this enormous family of professional musicians. For generations, if your last name was Bach in that part of Germany, you were a musician. It was just what you did.
So he grew up completely immersed in it.
Oh, absolutely. His
Yeah.
father wasn't just some guy who played for fun. He was a court trumpeter, the director of the town's music. So from day one, little Bach is hearing professional, high-level music. He knew what excellence sounded like.
Okay, let's talk about his early life, though, because it's this mix of intense musical training and, well, real tragedy.
A lot of tragedy. Both of his parents died before he even turned 10.
He was an orphan.
Yeah, which is just a staggering thing for a kid to go through. He ended up moving in with his older brother, Johann Christoph.
And his brother was a church organist.
He was. And that move really set the course for everything. That's where Bach got his hands on the harpsichord and the organ and just started mastering them.
The way he learned is just, it's incredible. His main method for studying the great composers of his day was to copy their music.
By hand.
By hand, just
Yeah.
hours and hours, writing out every single note.
And you have to think about what that does to your brain. You're not just playing the music, you're physically building it on the page, note by note. You start to see the architecture, how every part moves, how the chords fit together. It's an intimacy with the music that almost no one gets.
He also had a great singing voice, a soprano, which got him into a good school in Lüneburg.
Right, and that opened up his world. He met other famous organists, heard different styles. Then, his voice changed, as it does.
Of course.
So he pivoted. He focused hard on the violin and the organ, because that's how he was going to get a job.
And that led to his first gigs. A court musician in Weimar, then an organist in Arnstadt. But it's his hunger, really, that stands out in this period.
Oh, the dedication is just off the charts.
Yeah.
You hear these stories about him traveling huge distances.
And we're talking about walking.
Walking, just to hear other legendary musicians play, like Dietrich Buxtehude.
Let's just pause on that for a second. The walk to hear Buxtehude, that was over 250 miles.
One way.
One way. That's like walking from Philadelphia to Boston, just to sit in a church and listen to somebody play the organ.
It tells you everything. This wasn't a job for him. It was an obsession. He needed to know everything, to hear everything.
And these trips clearly changed him. They reshaped his style.
Exactly. He's taking this very structured German tradition he grew up with, and then he's hearing these new Italian influences, more rhythmic energy, clearer melodies, and he starts blending them. That's what created his own unique sound, and it helped him get a better job in Mühlhausen, where he started writing his first really big pieces.
Which brings us to his next big phase. Back to Weimar in 1708. He's the court organist, and this is where he becomes a total master of the pipe organ.
This is his organ decade, for sure. But the workload, it was just crushing. He gets promoted to concertmaster, which is basically the leader of the whole court music group.
And that promotion came with a catch.
A huge one. He had to compose a brand new cantata every single month.
Okay, so for anyone listening, what exactly is a cantata?
Think of it like a short, powerful musical sermon. It's about 20, maybe 30 minutes long. You've got vocal soloists, a choir, a small orchestra. It's a complex piece of music.
So imagine being told you have to write a brand new mini opera, a perfect one, every 4 weeks.
The creative pressure is just staggering. But he did it. And this is when he wrote so many of his famous preludes and fugues for the organ. He was also studying other composers constantly.
Especially the Italians, like Vivaldi.
Yes. He loved Vivaldi's energy. He'd take that Italian rhythmic drive and merge it with his own dense German harmonies. The result was just thrilling. He got a reputation across Europe as maybe the greatest organ player alive.
But even with all that success, he started to feel stuck in Weimar.
He did. He was hitting the limits of what the church services demanded. He wanted more freedom, especially to write instrumental music.
And that search led him to Cothen in 1717.
A really crucial move. He became the music director for Prince Leopold. Now, the prince was a Calvinist, and this is important. Calvinist church services had much, much simpler music than the Lutheran ones Bach was used to.
So fewer church duties was actually a good thing for him.
It was a gift. It basically freed him up to focus almost entirely on instrumental music for the court, and the result was this absolute explosion of genius.
This is the period of the Brandenburg concertos.
Yes. 6 concertos, and each one is designed to show off a different group of instruments from the Prince's orchestra. They're just masterpieces of instrumental writing.
He also wrote the cello suites during this time.
And, maybe most importantly, the first book of the Well-Tempered Clavier. We really have to talk about this because it's revolutionary.
Okay, so why is this collection of keyboard pieces so important?
It's all about tuning. See, back then, you'd tune a keyboard so it sounded perfect in a few specific keys, like C major. But if you tried to play in a key with lots of sharps or flats, it would sound awful, really sour and out of tune.
So composers were kind of trapped. They could only write in certain keys.
Exactly. Bach championed a new system, what we call equal temperament. It's this clever mathematical compromise where every note is tuned just a tiny, tiny bit off from perfect. But because they're all equally off, it means you can play in all 24 possible keys, major and minor, and they all sound good.
Wow. So he didn't just write music, he wrote a technical manual that proved a whole new way of making music was possible.
He unlocked the whole keyboard for every composer who came after him. It was a massive leap forward.
This period also saw a lot of personal tragedy, though. His first wife, Maria Barbara, died suddenly.
He came home from a trip and just found out she had died and been buried. It's heartbreaking. He did remarry a wonderful professional singer named Anna Magdalena. She became a huge part of his life, helping him copy out all that music.
So even with all this artistic freedom at Cothen, he makes another move. The biggest job of his career in Leipzig, starting in 1723.
This was the big leagues. He became the cantor of the St. Thomas School and director of music for the whole city. But the job it was overwhelming.
What did he have to do?
Okay, get this. He was in charge of the music for the 4 main churches in the city. He had to teach the students, train the choirs, play the organ, fix the instruments, and on top of all that, provide new music for every Sunday and every holiday.
He literally became the cantata factory.
That is the perfect term for it. For the next 2 decades, he just churned them out. We have over 200 of them that survived. Think about that pace. Finding the words, writing the music, copying all the parts, rehearsing with kids who probably didn't want to be there, and then performing it every single week.
And we know the pressure was worse for him than for other composers at the time.
Oh yeah, most guys would just recycle old music or have assistants compose for them. Not Bach. He wrote it all himself, and the quality is always incredibly high. It forced him to be unbelievably organized.
And somehow, on top of all those weekly duties, he also found time to write his absolute biggest, most monumental masterpieces.
Yes, the pieces that are almost too big for a normal church service. The St. Matthew Passion and the St. John Passion.
These huge dramatic retellings of the Easter story.
Exactly. And the ultimate summit of his work, the Mass in B minor.
People often say the Mass in B minor is one of the greatest achievements in all of music. Why is that?
Because it's everything. It's a summary of everything he ever learned. You have the Italian energy, the German structure. The way he weaves voices together using counterpoint is so complex it's almost three-dimensional. It's technique in the service of profound emotion.
That's a great transition because we have to talk about Bach the teacher, the master of musical logic.
Absolutely. The Well-Tempered Clavier wasn't just about tuning. It was an instruction book designed to teach keyboard players. For Bach, music had to be intellectually satisfying, not just pretty.
So let's talk about that intellectual core. We have to talk about his final obsession, counterpoint.
Right. So counterpoint, in the simplest terms, is the art of weaving multiple independent melodies together at the same time.
Okay, break that down for us.
Imagine watching 4 acrobats. Each one is doing their own complicated routine, but somehow their paths never collide. Instead, they all come together at key moments to create these perfect harmonious shapes. Every acrobat's line is independent, but it all fits together perfectly. That's counterpoint.
And the ultimate form of counterpoint is the fugue.
The fugue. It's a composition with very strict rules. One voice, say a flute, introduces a short melody, a theme. Then another voice, like a violin, repeats that same theme, while the flute goes on to do something new that still fits. Then another voice comes in. It's this incredibly complex logical conversation.
It sounds like his brain was just wired to see how far he could push musical structure.
It absolutely was. His very last big project was called The Art of Fugue. It's basically a scientific treatise in musical form. He takes one single, simple theme and shows every possible complex thing you can do with it. It was his proof that music could be built on pure logic and math and still be beautiful.
His final years, though, were really difficult. He started having major problems with his eyesight.
It's a tragic end of the story. He had two eye surgeries, both performed by the same traveling English surgeon, and they were both botched.
The surgeries left him completely blind.
They did, and his health just went downhill from there. But even blind, he didn't stop composing. He would just dictate the music note by note to his students and his family right up until his death in 1750.
And here's the craziest part of the whole story. After he died, his music just disappeared.
Poof, gone. Tastes changed. The new, simpler classical style of Mozart and Haydn came in, and Bach's complex Baroque music just sounded old-fashioned. He was basically forgotten.
For how long?
Almost 80 years. But then, in 1829, this brilliant young composer, Felix Mendelssohn, he was only 20 years old, he organizes a massive public performance of the St. Matthew Passion.
And that one concert changed everything.
It was like digging up a lost city. It ignited this huge global interest in Bach's music that has literally never stopped.
And today, he's considered one of the absolute pillars of music. His work is studied by everyone from classical pianists to jazz musicians to pop producers.
Because he proved that mathematical precision and deep human feeling aren't opposites. In his hands, the logic is what creates the emotion. That structure is what makes the art so powerful.
It's the ultimate combination of brain and heart. The logical structure is the perfect container for the deepest possible emotion.
Exactly. Yeah. If you really want to hear a mind at work, just put on one of his fugues. Try to follow just one of the melodies from beginning to end as it weaves around the others. It's an intellectual thrill, and it changes the way you listen to everything else.
Good luck with your studies.